This is a broken 55-inch 4K TV that was considered unrepairable, but that I'm going to fix with a piece of tape. Someone posted this TV for free on a local Facebook group, and when you turn it on, you don't get any image at all. It was actually so new it was under warranty. Their repair guy couldn't figure it out, so they got a replacement and got rid of this one. People are getting rid of useful and valuable things all the time, and those things can be repaired. One of my hopes with this channel is to help you and give you confidence to fix something or learn something new and to save money. So let me walk you through the process of how I got this TV, how to track down the problem, and I'll explain how a simple thing like tape can fix an unrepairable TV. The guy who gave away this TV was super cool, and he was very eager to know if I could fix it. His new TV was already there, so it was kind of fun that he was rooting for me. Here's what happens when you turn the TV on. You probably can't see it in this picture. The backlight comes on, but there's no image. If I had sound hooked up, you would hear the sound. The owner told me that the image got darker, then eventually there was no image at all. He said the TV tech replaced the main board and the T-Con board, but he still didn't know what was wrong. Now, based on that information, I have an initial guess at the problem, but it definitely sounds like a challenge. Whenever I get a broken TV like this, I follow a process to make an educated guess at the problem before ever getting my screwdriver out. I've fixed many TVs over the years, and in case you're interested in learning some of those steps, I put together a free PDF, 26 pages, of my best diagnostic tips before you ever get out a screwdriver. You can find that in the video description link below or on my website, FrugalRepair.com, under the Resources tab. Now, I searched online with this model number, and I didn't find any common problems. I know that there's a backlight but no image, and it's time to take the back cover off and do some more diagnostic steps. This is the TV with the back cover off. It's upside down. You can see there's not too many parts here. There's three main parts. There's the power supply, T-Con board, and main board. The original owner told me that the repair tech replaced the T-Con board and the main board over here, and he still couldn't figure it out. Now, my first guess is that either the repair tech didn't really replace the T-Con board, or the T-Con board has a fault in it, or more likely that there's a problem with the LCD panel. So the first thing I'm going to do is a quick check with my thermal imaging camera to see if I notice any short circuits on the T-Con board. This thing is pretty cool and it clips onto my phone. It's kind of expensive, but I use it all the time for things like this, finding cold spots in the house, or even checking kids' temperatures. Check the video description in case you want to see what I'm using. A spot that is unusually hotter than others on a board can be an indication of a short circuit. This is where there's an abnormal amount of current in a component, and that extra electrical current is showing up as heat. Now, looking at this, it's hard to tell since some of these chips would normally run hot, or normally run hot in comparison to others. But I don't see anything that strikes me as abnormal here. So I'm going to move on to what I think was the problem in the first place. And by the way, I'm making this a two-part video series. I'm actually also working on a TV with horizontal line damage, and it has a solution similar to the one I'm pursuing on this TV. So if you want to know more about the specifics on what in the world is tape going to do to fix a TV with an LCD problem, then make sure you check out that next video where I plan to go in more depth. And make sure you're getting all the notifications. Click on the bell icon in the bottom right so you won't miss when that next video comes out. So this next diagnostic step is an easy and very important one when tracking down an LCD problem. There are usually two ribbon cables coming out of the T-Con board that drive each half of the screen. The great thing is that you can disconnect one of these at a time to see which side has the problem. So I have the right side cable disconnected, I flipped the TV around, I've plugged it back in, and I'm going to turn it on and see what we get. Whoa, cool! That is way more than what I was getting before. This tells me that the left side of the screen is fine and that the problem is on the right side of the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the TV and reverse the process to see what happens and confirm that the problem is on that right side. I'll reconnect the ribbon cable that drives the right side of the screen and disconnect the other one, flip the TV around, and let's see what happens. Okay, that looks normal. But I see some lines on the screen, and that funky green stuff is definitely not normal. Wow, there is a problem on this TV. I would expect that the left side would stay a solid white, but because it's black on the right side and that funky stuff is going on the left side, that actually gives me a clue that there's a problem with the signaling on this LCD panel. So even though I suspect a problem inside the panel itself, I'll still want to check the driver board, which is under this metal bracket, for short circuits. I'm testing the capacitors along the edge for any shorts to ground. I don't find any, so let me get the Tcon board out and show you where I'm going to look next to try to isolate the problem. The role of the Tcon board is to help coordinate this complicated signaling that needs to happen so that the image data matches the on-off switching of the individual pixels. The image is placed on an LCD screen one row at a time, and it happens so fast that your eyes don't even notice it. One of the signals that is important to this process is what is called a clock signal. And there are clock signals going to both halves of the screen, which is important to know. And if you look here on the right side of the board, where the problem is, there are these labels that abbreviate the word clock with a CK, or sometimes there's a CLK. And notice there are 8 of them. They correspond to the signal lines going up to the connector. These are the signals that I'm going to block on the ribbon cable using tape, and then I'm going to unblock them one at a time to find which one of these lines is the culprit. So with a small piece of tape next to the ribbon cable, I know from the printing on the Tcon board that pin 1 is something I don't need to worry about because I followed those little traces up to pins 2 through 9, and these are the clock signals that I need to block. And with an X-Acto knife and magnification, it's not terribly difficult. So starting at pin number 2, I need to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to cut right there, and I'm going to end up with a piece of tape that perfectly blocks these 8 clock signals. So the ribbon cable is back in, and this is the first test. Will this work? This is a lot of fun. Let's see. Turning on the TV, let's see what we get. Wow, look at that. A full picture. But I don't know if you could see it. There was a bunch of lines there on the screen. I don't know if that's coming across on the camera. I can see a bunch of horizontal lines on there. Not perfect, but we're moving in the right direction. With the camera closer, you can see the horizontal lines, and they definitely affect the image quality. Here's a white image of the screen, and you can see the lines very clearly. But this is certainly progress from the dying green screen from earlier. Okay, so now I need to do some trial and error. I'm going to unblock one line at a time and put the ribbon cable back in the TV. I'm hoping that the image quality gets better overall, but what I'm really looking for when I test each line is for the problem on the TV to get worse, so it helps me uncover which one of these clock lines is the issue. So here's the screen with clock line 1 unblocked. It's maybe a little better overall, but you can still see the lines and it doesn't look good. So let's keep going and get back to the workbench to cut another sliver of tape off and unblock lines 1 and 2 and see what that looks like. It seems slightly better than before, but those lines are still there. So let's move on to the next one. And I do this a few more times. I'm not seeing any major changes after unblocking lines 1 through 5. Those lines on the screen are still visible, but when I get to unblocking line 6, something very interesting happens. Okay, so here we go. Lines 1 through 6 are unblocked. And oh wow, I finally see something different. The lines there look more prominent, and you can start to see the screen get dimmer there. So that means whatever is connected to clock line 6 almost certainly has a short circuit in it, and it's messing up this image quality significantly. And you can see it's causing this downward spiral with the image quality. So we have found the culprit here. I'm not going to bother testing lines 7 and 8 since I'm 99% sure that I've uncovered the main issue, so I'm only going to block line 6, and I'm hoping that this will circumvent the problem and get me a good image. Again, I'm going to explain a little bit more detail of what's happening here in the next video, so stay tuned for that. Okay, here we go. Line 6 is blocked. That looks amazing. That is the best picture that I've seen so far. The lines are not there anymore, and I don't really see any other blemishes on the screen. So let me get to the test screen and we'll compare. Here you can see the letters from before, but this time there are no lines. After looking the TV over, the only thing that I found was this faint line at the top right that's really only noticeable when there's a white image on the screen. Okay, this is really interesting. With my macro lens on, I can see the individual red, green, and blue subpixels that make up the colors for the image. This is looking at the top right of the screen. Look at which line has the problem. Yep, if you count down, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the problem is on pixel row number 6. So this probably means that there's a short circuit on one of the subpixels in row 6, and by blocking that clock line, I haven't solved the underlying problem, but I did fix the symptom, and you can see the TV is working great. This is an amazing 4K image, and you can't even see the line there at the top when you're watching it. Let me know your thoughts and questions below. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to see more of what happens behind the scenes, join me on Instagram. And before I go here, I want to give a shout out to my daughter who designed this new repair t-shirt for me. Thank you, honey. If you like repair videos, check out my repair playlist up here while you're waiting for part 2 to be released.